Hello, Brian from the Mets. Brian here. Spider-Man No Way Home is known for just how many characters might be in it. While most people seem to get what they wanted, sadly Disney left all of the big wheel fans such as myself and Video Game Donkey out to dry. I don't know what Marvel has against us. This is a character we've been asking for since the Raimi trilogy. As a child, all I ever wanted was a better Teen Titans finale and Big Wheel in a Spider-Man movie. But once again, I come away disappointed. The movie's still pretty good though. I guess my concern with Spider-Man No Way Home was that when Tobey and Garfield inevitably were in the film, would the story rise above the gimmick of, the Spider-Man you grew up with are in the film now? Well, no. But I liked it anyway. Pulling almost every major character from the Raimi and Webb films into this movie with a convoluted, exposition-heavy justification for how they arrive here, this film could easily read as empty fan service, when it is actually full, properly executed fan service. Compare this to something like Ready Player One or the Lego Batman movie, and the development of reincorporated elements from other properties is night and day. For instance, the camera work is not only leagues better than the previous two Spider-Man films, but throws back to visual cues and techniques the Raimi films utilized. Watt's directing was always kind of for hire in the other two, so not only does this upgrade in presentation make the film infinitely more watchable, but this is something that contributed to Raimi fans' positive experiences with his films, whether or not they're aware it did that. Even more obvious aspects of the fan service often lend themselves to unique charms other fan service heavy movies wouldn't have, such as the performances. On a meta level, these actors were all probably really excited at another opportunity to play their character. And I don't just mean with Alfred Molina and Willem Dafoe, who stepped back into their characters so effortlessly. I mean Jamie Foxx essentially got a re-roll to play Electro, a character nobody liked. And you know what? That excitement's contagious. Now, this explanation so far has been to justify enjoying the fan service in the film from an analytical perspective as well as the perspective of a fan. While this movie doesn't exist for any other reason than getting the three Spider-Men together with a metric load of exposition getting us there as quickly as possible, I love Spider-Man, and there are parts of my soul which, despite everything, have survived. As a critic or as a fan, I am not going to let the existence of fan service as a concept get in the way of me admitting when it's done correctly. There are so many little moments you can list off that I enjoyed for superficial reasons. Some admittedly were cringe and wouldn't exist if it weren't for memes.
I'm something of a scientist myself.
But most were either funny or entertaining. They play that ridiculous dubstep from Amazing Spider-Man 2, but only for like a couple seconds. There is a lot of self-aware humor about how the Amazing Spider-Man movies were actually kinda dumb, but without being mean or punching down at them. I think my favorite moment in the movie was when Peter starts wailing on the Green Goblin, but Dafoe's maniacal expression doesn't change, like the punches aren't even hurting him. And, like, that's something you wouldn't include unless you just get what made the character work. Unless you think the very concept of Spider-Man No Way Home is automatically damning, I don't know how you can't get swept up in its elaborate fan service routine. This is a model, additive example of using fan service correctly. The reason I'm harping on this so much is because, yes, what few detractors there are towards No Way Home are accusing it of memberberry syndrome. By its own merits, I think the film has slightly less to offer. Now, unlike Shang-Chi and Eternals, despite enjoying both, this movie has no true sore thumbs which could possibly prevent me from ever wanting to return to it. The boilerplate elements of a proper MCU film, such as comedy, dialogue, action, and special effects, are all at least above average. But it is very easy to fall into this starry-eyed fixation on No Way Home's callbacks and characters without noticing the actual story is dog shit. The front-loaded exposition really is an issue, and Marvel seems to be getting worse and worse at this with every post-Endgame installment. It honestly kind of made me appreciate the pacing and development of the Raimi films even more, since they all, even the third one, unfold pretty naturally. The middle portion of the movie where Peter tries fixing all the villain's motivations for doing evil is a laboriously drawn-out sequence of what feels like killing time before the characters just turn evil again. The film ending with Doctor Strange erasing everyone's memory of Peter is a stupid, unnecessary aspect of the climax, which only exists for a little additional button of Spider-Man sacrificing everything, when if you just take a single second to unravel it, it is nonsensical and forced. First of all, Peter had absolutely no reason to be upset at Doctor Strange's first spell erasing his friend's memory of him as Spider-Man when he can just tell them he's Spider-Man. And literally, who cares if MJ forgets that you're Spider-Man, Peter? She figured it out herself. But at the end of the movie, when everyone forgets about Peter, his entire digital and physical footprint still exists, right? It's not like It's a Wonderful Life, everything Peter did actually still happened. So, who do people think killed Mysterio? Does the video where Peter gets doxxed by him just not exist now? And Jameson's entire show is talking about Spider-Man, and these videos routinely talk about him being Peter Parker. So many of the people took pictures of Peter on their phones at the beginning of the movie. What happened to those? This is just a stupid little bow on the story that'll be retconned the second Marvel needs Spider-Man to team up with the Avengers again. And yet it is treated as such an integral part of Peter's character arc, even though the plot holes are bigger than the portal between multiverses opening during the climax. Either that, or this is Holland's final MCU Spider-Man movie, and this is Disney's way of handing the character back over to Sony to be in their movies, and if that's what's happening, that's worse. Speaking of that, I am also genuinely never gonna forgive Marvel for what they did to Venom in the post-credits scene. I wanted to see this Venom fight this Spider-Man. I wanted to see the inevitable scene of him calling Tom Holland a twink. But that's not happening, I guess. I will still take the problems with No Way Home's story over the respective problems of Shang-Chi or Eternals, despite enjoying both of them. There's an incessant back and forth about Marvel movies' legitimacy as art, and it's like people have forgotten that even if a movie is a blockbuster or a deliberate sequence of high-budget spectacle, that is still something you can judge the merits of. Spider-Man No Way Home is a Marvel movie drunk on its identity, albeit with the foundational elements of MCU action and character done in entertaining ways pretty much across the board. Not everything is perfect, and it isn't high art, but this used to be the norm, and we used to be okay with it. I will stop loving Spider-Man when you pry this opinion from my cold, dead hands. I am thinking a 7 out of 10 for Spider-Man No Way Home. So hey, this movie, did you love it more than me, less than me? Well, if you care to, please tell me. And if you like not only words, but the way I arrange and then say them, please consider giving this video a like. It helps me with the algorithm. And subscribing to me, Spider-Man. Thank you, and goodbye.